Morning all, and welcome to a news of the day type video. And we'll just jump into what the news is. Ricky Olczyk has been hired as an assistant general manager by the Seattle. He was the Maple Leafs pro scout this past season. He's kind of looked at as the capologist for the team. So we'll see how that goes for him. Wish him all the best. So Seattle continues to build their brain trust, which is honestly, I'm glad to see it. I do wonder though, like it's got to be kind of weird. You're taking a job that you don't really have a job yet because they aren't going to be drafting players until June of 2021. So I don't know. It's kind of got to be a bit of a strange job. Like, well, you're hired, and yeah, welcome to the. For scouts, I can get it. Like, for scouts, I can kind of understand when they start bringing in amateur scouts that'll be looking at juniors. That makes total sense. So, congratulations to Ricky, and we'll see how things go for him. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are, always in the news up here, so I might as well talk about this. Your top four, it looks like, according to the way that the pairings have been set up, Riley will be with Cody Ceci, and Muzzin will be with Barry. This is kind of what people expected. There's a lot for Toronto riding on this top four being good enough. This top four being solid enough to keep goals against down and to keep shots against Freddie Anderson down and keep him fresh. So a lot of what's going to happen with Toronto right now is focusing on Marner. I'm more interested in what's going to happen with the blue line. This is a totally new blue line. For all the criticism that Kyle Dubas gets, and some of it's fair, and some of it I think is a little bit overboard. 3 of these 4 names were not Toronto Maple Leafs 12 months ago. So he is doing his best to revamp the blue line. So we'll see how they do. Right? It is professional tryout time of year. So these are guys who do not have contracts. They're going to be going into training camp trying to get them. Stefan Nason with Dallas. Lance Boma with LA, coming back over playing in Europe last year. And Troy Brouwer gets a tryout with Florida. So we'll see if he can win his job back in Florida. And again, this is how it works. Your veteran players who might otherwise have signed as UFAs. One school of thought right now is that with young kids and we're just coming out of their ELC, their entry level contracts, making so much money, and with your star players, your veteran star players also making a lot of money, it squeezes these guys out. It squeezes out your veteran, probably a bottom 6 guy, out, because instead of paying these guys what they would have paid them before, which would be like $2.5 million, they squeeze them out. Get that other $2 million goes to the kids or to the star player, and then you just pay $900,000 to an entry level contract. And, see what you can do. Or in this case, too, player who might have made more money ends up making league minimum. Plenty of guys making league minimum right now, and that's probably part of it. It's just a change in economics in the NHL. If you're not a big scorer or like a defensive force, if you're kind of, playing a mixed role, or you're 3rd/4th line and that kind of thing, you're more viewed as expendable than the others. So we'll see which one of these guys gets in. And Eric Engels is reporting that Pominville may very well be connected to the Montreal Canadiens. It's the only report I could find of that, so that's why I put his name under it. Pominville would be an interesting addition for Montreal. They definitely could use a little bit more scoring. Pominville had 15 goals this last year. Yes, he's on his way down. But he could still potentially be a top 9 forward for the Montreal Canadiens. So if he goes to Montreal, that'll be an interesting one. Be very interested to see how he does. According to NHL and Fanatics, the top selling jerseys. Now this is just from NHL and Fanatics, so there are going to be plenty of people who say, well, that's according to them, but our experience has been that sales of jerseys are different. The top players when it comes to jerseys that sell. Crosby's back up to number 1. Ovechkin's number 2. Austin Matthews number 3. Marc-Andre Fleury's number 4. Patrice Bergeron 5. Patrick Kane is number 6. Bennington was as high as 7th, which is impressive considering he didn't play the first half of the year. Tarasenko, 8th. Taves, 9th. McDavid is 10th. Burns, 11th. Marchand, 12th. Tavares, 13th. Giroux, 14th. And Mitch Marner, 15th on the list. So, of those names, I have one with Crosby on the back. I have one with Tavares on the back. And I think that, no, I have one with Tarasenko on the back as well. So that's good. A few of the jerseys I have, popular players. That's all right. So yeah, those are the top 15. And I'm sure that'll stay relatively similar next year. I'm actually surprised Erik Karlsson's not on the board since he went to San Jose. So nobody had a Karlsson San Jose jersey before last year. But he wasn't one of the top 15. McDavid. So there's some talk about Connor McDavid because he didn't skate at the BioSteel camp. And that had some people worried. Everybody seems to indicate that at 5 months along, he's where he should be. And a minimum for a PCL injury, as I was reading on, I believe it was Sportsnet today, minimum for a PCL injury is 6 months. And it'll be basically exactly 6 months when opening night rolls around for the regular season. They're not going to tell us. You're not going to hear, well, McDavid's not going to play. It's just going to be a surprise. They'll likely want to keep him on the track he's on. He is the best player in the NHL, arguably. I say arguably because we can all argue about that, and we do, and I love you guys for the fact that you'll argue about all that. But McDavid's first game back. I hope it's game 1 of the season, only because the league's better with a minute. And last but not least on the board, the pressure's on for Phil Kessel. And this is an interesting topic. So, for Arizona fans, they're excited about Kessel and his addition and what it means to Arizona. Now, I also look at it and I say, well, Galchenyuk had 19 goals and he's out. Kessel had 27 goals, he's in. That's an addition of 8 goals. He did have 82 points, but then he needs to be finding guys and making sure they're in the right spot to succeed and get those goals. Kessel, the last time he was a centerpiece of a team was in Toronto. And we know, of course, that whether, through his fault or not his fault, he took a lot of blame in Toronto. And I'm not saying that things in Arizona aren't going to end up being better, but when I see him, at a press conference, he's wearing an Arizona jersey, and he is excited. He is excited to play for Rick Tocchet, a friend of his. And he says he's putting that friendship aside, and he's just concentrating on playing hockey. There's a lot of pressure on Phil right now. If Phil struggles out of the gate, I think people are going to be surprised by that. I think the expectation is he's going to get the goals back, and he says that too in the press conference, where he's like, "Yeah, if we need a goal on the power play, I'll try to get it," which is a little bit different than it was in Pittsburgh. He always seemed to me to be happier in Pittsburgh, that he was happy to kind of be a secondary guy, as he saw it, anyways. Because he's not the guy who's got the cameras in his face and asking him about a loss or about a struggle or this or that. He could always count on Crosby and Malkin being the guys who were getting interviewed, and of course Fleury until he left, and then Matt Murray as well. So now he's the guy in Arizona. And the one tricky thing for me with Arizona is that while I hope Phil does really well, I do wonder about who are his line mates going to be. Can he turn that power play around? And can he rediscover the kind of goal-scoring prowess that he needs to in order to turn things around for Arizona? Because again, if it's just pure goals, they only added 8 by adding Phil Kessel over Galchenyuk. And Galchenyuk, I think, is capable of more than 19. And it's going to be interesting to see how Galchenyuk does in Pittsburgh as well. That's a comparison I think we're going to be making regularly throughout the year. I know Arizona's got fans that are excited and really hoping this is the first time they go to the playoffs since 2012. And I'm right there. Like last year, there was a lot of excitement. And even the second half of the previous season, it looked like they were getting better and that they were becoming a team that could could threaten for a playoff spot, and they threatened for it this year. I feel sort of like I don't know, concern's not the right word either, but I do have some questions about Kessel and when he's the guy, how things turn out. We'll see, because he did have, despite Toronto fans being upset with him at times and him underachieving at times in Toronto, he did have a couple of very good seasons for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he did lead them to the playoffs on one occasion. So we'll see. We'll see if he can do that for Arizona. Do you believe Phil Kessel, when you see him in that Coyotes jersey and he's talking about going back to the playoffs, do you believe that he was the addition that they needed? Or is Arizona going to need something else? Obviously, a rebound season from Clayton Keller would be excellent. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.